Bonjour, bon vendredi. It's Friday, everybody, and welcome to another captivating mini lesson with Madame. So I'm going to ask you again to take out that lovely French notebook or get a couple pieces of notebook paper. I like, you know me, I like having quelques feutres, un souligneur, peut-être un crayon, un stylo. We have these things close by, they're kind of handy. Today we're going to do kind of telling time lesson number 2. Okay, are you ready? Pause whenever you need to. Pause right now to grab your stuff, and we will jump right into things. So just to recap, the last time we videoed together, we were looking at what time is it, and we did telling time on the hour. Okay. Just as a little bit of a recap, we looked at a very kind of basic formula of il est une heure, or il est trois heures. Another example, il est huit heures. We were noticing that the number is really the thing that changes and that there are S's on every hour except for 1. Okay, so far? Just as a little side note, this word tends to be maybe more difficult than it really is. And so it really sounds like you're saying okay? Your H is silent, your E, U sounds like an So, Okay. We also discussed that there's no AM or PM in French. Those little abbreviations don't mean anything. And that there are 2 different ways to express that same idea of like precising which 3 o'clock you're talking about, 3 AM or 3 PM. And we will use expressions like du matin, which means in the morning. You may know the song Frère Jacques, dormez-vous, dormez-vous, sonnez les matinées. Matinées are morning bells, so that word is related to that matin. De l'après-midi, which literally means after, right? Après, and then midi means noon. We'll talk about that in just a couple. Or du soir, and we know soir from bonsoir, good evening. The other way that we might show more precise time or hour is by using what the French call official time, or l'heure officielle. And remember that that's looking at the clock based on 24 hours. So anytime after noon, instead of saying 1, 2, or 3 o'clock, you're going more like 14 or 16 or 21. Right? That's official time. So those are your kind of 2 different ways to do AM or PM. Now, just as a little side note, I wish I had shared this with you, but I'll share it with you now. There are 2 lovely little expressions that come in handy, and one is midi, and that means noon. And I'm going to put a little sun next to midi. And then there's also minuit, and I'm going to put a little moon, and that means midnight. And so you would say things just as easily as you had up here. You would say like il est midi, it's noon, or il est minuit, it's midnight. And really this mi is the middle, and the di, remember at the end of lundi, mardi, mercredi, is a Latin root for day, so midday. And then this is midnight, and that's the word nuit is the word for night. Like bonne nuit is good night. So that's your little recap. All that being said, this is sort of the new little tidbit, these words midi and minuit. And so now we're going to kind of launch forward and add minutes to this. So I'm going to have you take another beautiful piece of paper, and I'm going to change color, go crazy here. I'm going to label it D'accord. Lesson 2B, telling time, number 2. Okay, so as we go forward, we're going to talk about telling time, including minutes. We're going to go back to the fact that the question to ask to find out the time is quelle heure est-il? Okay, quelle heure est-il? Quelle heure est-il? Heure, right? And then in order to answer with minutes, and I don't know if you can kind of already figure this out, we would say il est une heure. And again, pause this if I'm writing too fast or you need a minute. And then all we do is add on the minutes. We don't use an A, we don't use the minute word, we just say il est 1h05. Voilà. D'accord? If we had 2:10, we'd say il est 2h. I'll pause here. We have the 2 and the S, and then the number here is 10, so we have 10. Il est 2h10. So then we have, let's say we do 3:15. Il est 3h15. I'm going to hop down to do, I don't know, 4:25. Il est 4h20. Oh, hate when I do this. 5. Kind of ran out of room. 4h25. See how I'm just popping in the numbers after? I'm going to go down to, let's do, il est 5h30. Now, you can perhaps start to guess why we looked at numbers 40 through 60 today, or yesterday, whenever you watched this on Thursday. So when we have, for example, if we wanted to say 6:40, we'd say il est 6h40. 40. There's that new word for 40. 40. And if we had 7:45, we'd say il est 7h45. Making sense? And we could go up to il est 8h50. Okay, so I sympathize with you if you feel like this is like redundant to make you write them over and over again. Again, the more your hand writes, the more your brain connects with a pattern, and you also are paying kind of closer attention to how these new number words will fold in. Okay, so il est 1h05. All we're doing, I'm going to grab my little highlighter that's hiding under here. We're just kind of adding those number words as we go. Okay, so far? So if you were saying something in official time, I just dropped my marker. Let's say we have this time. Any ideas how we would say that in French? We would have il est 14h. And then we just add 30. So this number may look a little bit unusual, right? It's a little bit higher, but then we're just adding the numbers. It's all about numbers with official time. Okay? So, one last little tidbit for you. There is this exciting word, which is the word moi. It's a very nasal sound, moi, okay? The moi, you know, the N is in your nose, moi, and the S totally silent. Now, moi literally means minus, and it's used when French people do math. It also can mean sort of like how we would say till. And so sometimes once we get past that 30-minute mark, instead of saying it is 7:45, we might say it's 7:45. And so I'm just going to hop over here and show you that we can also say il est 8 heures. Now notice it's 7:45, so I need a little bit of a different number here. And then I'm going to say moins 15. So I use this moins, and it's like I'm going, okay, it's 8 o'clock minus 15. Now, some people, you may find yourself, you never use that quarter till, half past kind of stuff. And that may be very true. You don't use those expressions, but they are important to understand because some people might use them with you. So while you don't have to learn to necessarily say them, you do need to hear them and read them and know, oh, I know what that means. Now, we have this moins, and so instead of saying it's 8:55, we could say it's 5 of 8, so we'd 5 of 9, excuse me. So we'd say il est 9 heures, and then we'd use that moins word, and then I just put the word 5, right? So it's 5 of 9. Okay, I've got 2 more additions, and I'm going with a different color. You do not have to do a different color. I am going to ask you just to hop over here to the 15. Sometimes instead in English of saying it's 15 after 3, we'll say it's 3:15. And so in French, you can say il est 3 heures, and then they use this word et quart. It looks like our word quart, but it sounds like car, like you're driving a car. Toot toot. Il est 3:15. Very conversational. It's never used in official time because that's always numbers. But you may see that, and that's, quarter after. Et quart. And then if you wanted to say half past instead of 30 minutes after, you'd say il est 5:30. You might know the word demi like from a demigod or a demi-plié, right? Or a demi-tasse. Do you know demi in other words? Demi-lovato. That means half. And so you would say il est 5:30. That's 5:30. Or il est 5:30. Either way, there's the same exact time. So we've got 2 little words, et quart, et demi. And then we've got this word moins, which means minus or till. And so if anybody ever were to say to you, oh, il est 7 heures moins 15, that means it's 15 minutes before 7 o'clock. Okay, voila, this is how you do minutes. The most important pieces are purple. These orange pieces are just conversational expressions that are good to be able to know when you see them. Quart looks like quarter past. Demi looks like demigod or half god. And then we have this word moins, which looks a little bit like the word minus, which is a way to get to the till. Okay, c'est fini. Merci. Au revoir.